How's it going, all you beautiful people? I've been keeping track of the prices of every single ETB from Scarlet and Violet Base to Phantasmal Flames since the beginning of the year. So on January 1st, I got the prices of all the ETBs, January 8th, January 15th, and so on. And how I'm getting the prices, I'm going on TCG Player and I'm getting the lowest listing that isn't dented, that doesn't have a rip in it, that isn't sold from somebody that has zero sales. So there are some things to it, and I know that getting the lowest listing isn't the best way to price out a product all the time, but I'm just doing a scenario where if you went on TCG Player every single week and you got the lowest price of all these ETBs, how much you would pay for all of it. So I'm staying consistent with that, so I think it's fair to compare week after week if I'm getting the price in the same way. So I'll put the chart on the screen, and this is how it looks this week. I'm not going to walk through every single ETB, but I will highlight some of the ETBs that stand out to me. So the first one that stands out to me is Scarlet and Violet Base Koraidon. It went from $86.91 at the beginning of the year to $109.98 last week to $134.97 today. That's a 22.72% increase since last week and a 55.30% increase since the beginning of the year. One thing to note is Scarlet and Violet Base, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames 151, Paradox Rift, and Paldean Fates will be going out of rotation early next month. And based on trends, when sets go out of rotation, that typically means that Pokemon will stop printing them. So based on the past, it probably means that they'll stop printing these sets. So I'm not surprised that some people are trying to buy some of these ETBs right now, especially because they're not too expensive. I did see Scarlet and Violet Base Koraidon, a lot of buys recently, and there's not too much on TCG Player, so it didn't take too much buying to get the lowest listing from $109.98 last week to $134.97 this week. But 22.72% increase since last week is huge. 55.30% increase since the beginning of the year is also really big, because it's only been just under 3 months, so that's kind of crazy. The next one that stands out to me, Obsidian Flames. It's gone from $159.60 at the beginning of the year to $202 last week to $226.99 today. That's a 12.37% increase since last week and a 42.22% increase since the beginning of the year. As Obsidian Flames ETB, I'm not surprised that it's going for so much because it does have, in my opinion, one of the best ETB promo cards that Pokemon has released. It's a Charmander that's against the window. It's a really cute card, but it's a big increase. 12.37% increase from last week, up 42.22% increase since the beginning of the year. But another thing to keep in mind is this is going out of rotation next month, which does mean that it's probably going to go out of print, and Pokemon will no longer be printing Obsidian Flames. I mean, they haven't really printed much Obsidian Flames recently, but we probably will not see Obsidian Flames after early next month. And we might not ever see it again, because I'm not really sure if there will be an Obsidian Flames restock or not. The next one that stands out to me, 151 ETB. So it started off the year $375.87, which is already a massive price for an ETB, but 151 has been the talk of the town. Last week, it was $639.99. This week is today it's $614. So that is a decrease of 4.06%. But it is still up 63.35% since the beginning of the year. And that's just crazy because it was already $375.87 at the beginning of the year. And from that, it's gone up 63.35%. What I'm thinking happened is people are probably taking their profits. A lot of these people bought this ETB for $50, maybe $60. Maybe they bought on the secondary market for $100, $200. Now that it's $600, I'm assuming a lot of people are trying to take profits. So people will be listing on TCG Player, will be trying to sell it, because I mean, that's okay if an item you have goes up 200%, 300%, 400%. It's not a bad idea to take profit, even if you think that this product will continue to go up, because taking profit sometimes is not a bad decision. So that's why I think it has gone down 4.06%. It's probably somebody that's just trying to take their profits and listing it lower than everything else on TCG Player and hoping that it sells. The next one that stands out to me, Paradox Earth Iron Valiant. It went from $93.27 on January 1st to $122.99 last week to $122 this week. And it does just stand out to me because it's one of the three that has gone down in price since last week. It's down 0.8% since last week, but it's still up 30.80% since the beginning of the year. I mean, 0.8% down since last week, only 99 cents down from last week. So I wouldn't really say it has much, but I just wanted to point it out because it is one of the three that has gone down since last week. The next one is Paradox Rift Roaring Moon. On January 1st, it was $104.93. Last week it was $116.08. Today it's $132.61. That's an increase of 14.24% since last week and an increase of 26.38% since the beginning of the year. I know that Paradox Rift isn't a very popular set, but even not being a popular set, both Paradox Rift ETBs are over $100 and they're $122 and $132.61. So it kind of means, you know, a set doesn't necessarily have to be the favorite set for it to go up over time. I know that a lot of the popular ones have gone up a lot more over time, but this is like the worst case scenario. I know that Paradox Rift is one of the sets that a lot of people don't really like, but it is still up because MSRP of these ETBs, $50. So, and since the beginning of the year too, both of the ETBs are up 30.80% and 26.38%. The next one that stands out to me, Temporal Forces, Iron Leaves EX. On January 1st, it was $80.25. So last week, it was $98.98. Today, it's over $100, $103.96. That's an increase of 5.03% since last week and an increase of 29.55% since the beginning of the year. Another one where Temporal Forces isn't a very popular set, but the ETB is still performing well price-wise. This ETB is up 29.55% since the beginning of the year. It looks like there was a little bit of a pump, 5%, or a little bit of an increase, 5% since last week. So it's doing well. But the other Temporal Forces ETB, Temporal Forces Walking Wake, went from $82.31 at the beginning of the year to $103.49 last week to $134.99 today. That's an increase of 30.44% since last week. So there was a lot of buying of this Temporal Forces Walking Wake since last week, and it's up 64% since the beginning of the year. Temporal Forces isn't a very popular set, but as I stated before, in Pokemon, in this current market, it doesn't really matter if a set is super good or not. It will go up over time because scarcity you won't be able to get it from a store or an LGS store, or Target, Walmart. I don't know the last time that Temporal Forces was on the shelves. Probably sometime last year, but I haven't really seen it recently or heard of it being able to get for MSRP. So that's probably why it's going up in price. The next one that stands out to me, Stellar Crown. At the beginning of the year, it's $91.74. Last week it was $111. Today it's $121.98. That's an increase of 10.89% since last week and an increase of 32.96% since the beginning of the year. That's a pretty big increase too. A 10.89% increase in a week. I know Stellar Crown has a lot of cute cards, the Bulbasaur, the Squirtle, but it hasn't seen too much love. But at the same time, I don't know the last time you were able to get a Stellar Crown ETB out in the wild for MSRP. So I'm not really surprised that this is going up too, but 10.89% since last week. That's a pretty big increase in just 7 days. The next one, Prismatic Evolutions. It went from $122.55 at the beginning of the year to $207.99 last week to $189.50 today. So it did drop 8.89% since last week. And the reason why I think there was a drop was Walmart had a Prismatic Evolutions ETB drop last night. And I think from reports there are about 300,000 units of Prismatic Evolutions ETBs that Walmart released. It was kind of impossible to get it. I feel like it just went to all the botters, just like how every single Walmart drop has been. But that's probably why there was a dip since last week, because I'm assuming a lot of people are scared. There was a big restock, 300,000 units. So people are probably just listing on TCG Player and trying to sell it, thinking that it's going to dip a lot. I don't think Prismatic Evolutions ETBs will dip that much, even with the restock of 300,000 ETBs, but we'll see. That's why I'm doing this. The reason why I'm keeping track of the data is you can have all these opinions, you can have all these thoughts based on things that are going on. But one thing is data doesn't lie, so that's why I'm keeping track of it. So we'll see how Prismatic Evolutions does in the next couple of weeks with this huge Walmart restock. But one thing to keep in mind with Prismatic Evolutions is it was printed like crazy last year. It was kind of held a little bit down, but once the printing stopped, I mean, look at it. Prismatic Evolutions is up. Even with the 8.89% drop since last week, it's still up 54.63% since the beginning of the year. So we'll see how it performs. Journey Together, another set that was popular when it came out, but after it came out, a lot of people don't really seek after it much. It's not the top of the top set, but even with that, on January 1st, it was $84.23. Last week, it was $97.99. Today, it's $104.99. That's an increase of 7.14% since the beginning of the year, and an increase of 24.65% since the beginning of the year. Another one of those. Not the most popular set, but this ETB has passed $100. It's up 24.65% since the beginning of the year, up 7.14% up since last week. So we'll see. Perfect Order is coming, officially releasing tomorrow, and it's another set that I think won't be very well received, and a lot of people will probably continue to be looking for Ascended Heroes, other popular sets, and Perfect Order probably won't get the same love. But just like Journey Together, just like Temporal Forces, just like Paradox Rift, not very popular sets, I just think in today's landscape of the Pokemon market that most things will go up over time. It really depends how popular it is in terms of how much it'll go up. But I do think that most things will go up over time. But at the same time, I don't think that you should buy sets when they first get released most of the time. It really depends, because Ascended Heroes, I mean, it worked out if you bought it right at release. But it really depends. I don't really like to buy stuff when it first comes out. I kind of like to wait, see how the demand is, see how the prices react. So that's kind of how I am with Perfect Order. And one thing with Perfect Order is I believe it'll get printed until 2029. So you have a lot of time to pick it up. So you don't need to be super frantic to get as much Perfect Order as possible. You'll have plenty of time to get Perfect Order. So I know Perfect Order is not on this list, but I just want to talk a little bit about it. The last one I want to talk about, White Flare. January 1st, it was $79.01. Last week, it was $89.99. This week is $97.98. That's an increase of 8.88% since last week, and an increase of 24.01% since the beginning of the year. So another one that saw a pretty decent increase since last week. I do think Black Bolt, White Flare are good sets. I think they're underrated right now. I think they have a lot of good hits, but we'll see what happens to them. So overall, if you add up all these ETBs, it goes to $3,524.59. All these ETBs at the beginning of the year were $2,506.04. Last week it was $3,410.37. So all these ETBs are up 3.35% since last week and up 40.64% since the beginning of the year. So if you bought one of every single ETB at the beginning of the year, you'd be up 40.64%. You'd be up a little over $1,000. That's crazy to me. And that kind of just sums up how the Pokemon market is going. I think the Pokemon market is just on fire. The data on this table shows it. I know a lot of people have different opinions about the Pokemon market, what they want the Pokemon market to be like. I know a lot of people are frustrated because they have a hard time getting product. But one thing is for sure, the Pokemon market is booming. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of demand. The demand is through the roof. It's way higher than the supply. I don't know if you've tried to get product recently, but I haven't really tried much. But being able to get any product right now is just so hard because everywhere you go, there's a line. If you know that something's going to drop, there's a line the night before in the morning. If you don't go 2 hours before open, there's already a huge line. If you don't know of a drop, once people know, everyone just flocks to there right away. So I know there's a lot of frustration right now. But just purely talking about the Pokemon market is hot. The demand is through the roof. And I don't see it slowing down anytime in at least 2026. I will say the next thing that can affect the market is a big printing facility that will get partially released next year. We'll see how that affects the Pokemon market. We'll see if they can print a little bit more in that printing facility to tend to all the demand there is. But this year, I just don't see Pokemon slowing down anytime soon, especially with the 30th anniversary coming up. But we'll see. That's why I'm taking track of all the data, because the data does not lie, and we'll see how these prices do. But at least at this point, if you look at any Pokemon product, probably all Pokemon products are up right now since the beginning of the year. So that's just the state of the Pokemon market. Let me know in the comments what you think, what your thoughts are of the Pokemon market, how you think the rest of the year is going to go in terms of the prices, how you think Perfect Order, I know Perfect Order is not on this chart, but will Perfect Order slow down the market because it's a set that probably won't have a lot of demand? People aren't too excited about it compared to Ascended Heroes. Will that be enough to slow down the market where you'll be able to get Perfect Order on shelves and it'll be sitting there? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you've watched up to this point, I'd really appreciate it. Only if you enjoyed this video, because I don't want it if you didn't enjoy this video. But I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my YouTube. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And the reason why I'm trying to get to 1,000 is that's like the first check mark you need to join the YouTube Partner Program. There's some other stuff you need to do, but it is the first thing you need to reach. So that's just a goal of mine. And I'll keep making videos. I know it's going to take a long time because I'm only at 300 something subscribers. So I'm a long ways away, but I'll keep making video and hopefully people will enjoy it enough to subscribe over time. So I really appreciate if you would subscribe to my YouTube, if you would follow me on Instagram and TikTok. They're all TCG Collectors House. I really appreciate it if you would drop a comment on my YouTube video, drop an upvote, because it really does help with the algorithm in showing to other people. Once people start watching the video, if they like it, if they drop a comment, YouTube will show it to more people. And if those people like it or drop a comment, they'll show it to more people. So it really does help with the algorithm. But I really appreciate you watching. That's the most important thing, because if you're here up to this point, that's what I appreciate the most, because you've just been hearing me talk this whole time. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your support. And I'll see you next time.